This is your educator Priyanka Thakur. I'm teaching you life sciences and welcome you all on our YouTube channel Gurmantra Shiksha Ka Granth. So, we are starting our organ system from this video today, and first of all we are going to cover circulatory system. And in circulatory system today we are mainly going to talk about blood components and blood clotting mechanism. Do watch the video till the end. Do not forget to do what? Subscribe to our channel and watch all the videos in the playlist if you want to crack the GATE 2021 or you are preparing for any kind of examination. These videos are definitely gonna help you. Okay, so let's start with our today's topic, which is circulatory system, and in which we are going to cover the blood components and the blood clotting mechanism, and then we are going to talk about heart and as well as blood vessels. So let's know about the circulatory system. This circulatory system is also known as cardiovascular system or the vascular system. Okay, so it is an organ system that permit the blood to circulate and transport nutrients, and blood can transport the nutrients like amino acid, different electrolytes, oxygen, carbon dioxide, hormones, and blood cells to and from the cells in the body to provide nourishment and help in fighting diseases, stabilize temperature, pH, and maintain homeostasis. So our circulatory system is helping in transport of different nutrients and also different cells to and from, and also in the transport of different hormones and other cell in our body. WBCs are also circulating now, and how they are helping us? They are helping us in fighting diseases, stabilizing temperature and pH, and all these components in the cell helps in maintaining the all these components not in the cell but in the blood helps in maintaining the homeostasis. Circulatory system mainly consists of three interrelated components, which are blood, heart, and blood vessels. Okay, these are the main three interrelated components in the circulatory system. I'm not talking about the components of blood, but I'm talking about the components of circulatory system, which are blood, heart, and blood vessels. First of all, we will talk about blood. As we know, blood is formed by the combination of plasma and cells. These plasma and cells circulate in our entire body. Okay, and this blood, it is a specialized fluid that supplies the essential substances around our body, such as sugar, oxygen, and hormones. It can also remove the waste from the cells in the body. What are the components of blood? Main components of blood are blood plasma and formed elements. Let's talk about plasma first. In whole blood, plasma is the major constituent. Like in 100%, 55% of blood is plasma in humans. And in this plasma, 92% is water and remaining 8% includes carbon dioxide, glucose, hormones, proteins, mineral salts, fats, and vitamins. Okay, so in plasma, the remaining 55% is in whole blood. 55% is plasma, and plasma further is made up of 92% of water and remaining 8% are like carbon dioxide, glucose, hormones, proteins, mineral salts, fats, and vitamins. And remaining 45% of blood consists of red, white blood cells and platelets, and each of these cells are going to play a very important role in keeping the blood functioning very effective. In plasma, there are certain kind of proteins, and these proteins are mainly synthesized by the hepatocytes, the liver cells. And the plasma proteins mainly includes globulins, albumins, not alumins, and fibrinogen. Fibrinogen, what is a fibrinogen? This is a blood clotting factor. It is an important blood clotting factor which is produced by the liver. If there are no blood clotting factor in the plasma, then this plasma is known as serum. Serum is totally similar in composition like plasma, but it does not have blood clotting factor as present in the plasma. Albumin maintains the volume and pressure, while the globulins present are involved in transport and fight infections. So these are some specific function of the proteins found in the plasma, and these are the very important one. As remember, fibrinogen is a blood clotting factor. Now let's talk about formed elements. Formed elements includes red blood cells, also known as erythrocytes, white blood cells, also known as leukocytes, and platelets, also known as thrombocytes. The total amount, the total percentage actually, that is of what? Red blood cells. The total percentage of red blood cells present in the total volume of blood is called hematocrit. What is hematocrit? The percentage of red blood cell that is found in total blood volume is hematocrit. If the RBC percentage increases abnormally, such a condition is known as polycythemia. Because in polycythemia, RBC percentage will increase, there will be increase in the viscosity of blood, and increased viscosity of blood can hinder its flow. Okay. And hematopoiesis or hemopoiesis is the process of formation of formed element. Before birth, this hemopoiesis occurs in the yolk sac of an embryo. After birth, it occurs in liver, spleen, lymph nodes, and thymus. But mainly, primary organ of hemopoiesis is red bone marrow. Red bone marrow becomes the primary site of hemopoiesis just 3 months before the birth, and then it remains the primary site forever, and these are the secondary sites. Liver, spleen, lymph nodes, and thymus are the secondary sites of hemopoiesis. Let's talk about our first formed element, that is a red blood cell. Red blood cells are also known as erythrocytes and are the component of blood. We know that there are millions of cells which are circulating in the blood and in vertebrae. These cells imparts a characteristic color to the blood, which is red. They carry the oxygen from the lungs to the tissues. In adults male, we will see about 5.4 million RBCs. But in adult female, we will see about 4.8 million RBCs. In mature human, this red blood cell is small, round, and biconcave, may appear dumbbell-shaped in profile. The cell is flexible and it can assume a bell shape as it passes through extremely small blood vessels. Biconcave shape offers at least 2 advantages to this cell. If this cell is surrounded by a hypotonic solution, then it can swell considerably before bursting. And this shape of the cell has a large surface to volume ratio, which increases the efficiency of oxygen transfer across the red blood cell membrane. This cell also lacks mitochondria at maturity, so it cannot have its own energy. It is dependent upon glycolysis for ATP. They lack a nucleus, so cannot synthesize a number of proteins which are required for even repair mechanism, so they survive only up to 120 days. Ruptured RBCs are destroyed by macrophages found in the spleen. Spleen is known as the graveyard of RBC, and the breakdown product are recycled. Okay, after the RBC is phagocytosized by macrophages in the spleen, then some products then came out of after the destruction. Then those products are recycled back. The red blood cell, how the red blood cells are formed? They are formed in the bone marrow in several stages. First of all, there are hemocytoblasts. Hemocytoblasts are some multipotent cells in the mesenchyme. If you remember, mesenchyme is the tissue from which all the connective tissue is arised. And this hematocytoblasts become erythrocytoblasts, or we call it a normoblast, during 2 to 5 days of development. And then erythroblast gradually fills with hemoglobin, and its nucleus and mitochondria disappear, and In later stage, erythroblast is now called reticuloblast, which ultimately becomes a fully mature red cells. Now you know each and everything. Tell me, in bone marrow, mesenchymal cells are present. From there arises hemocytoblast. Hemocytoblast then converted into erythroblast during 2 to 5 days of development, and then erythroblast will be filled with hemoglobin. Its red blood cells, its nucleus will disappear, its mitochondria will disappear, and it will become reticulocyte, which ultimately become our fully mature red blood cells. Okay, fine. So now you know how red blood cells are formed. They start forming from hematocytoblast, and ultimately which is converted into reticulocyte, and RBCs are formed. See, these are some respiratory pigments found in different like phylums, and they are having the different metals as well. Hemoglobin imparts red color. It has iron as a metal ion, and it is mainly found in annelids and vertebrates. But in annelids, other than hemoglobin, you can see chlorochlorine and hemoerythrin. Chlorochlorine imparts green color. Hemoerythrin, just like that of hemoglobin, impart red color. But in both, the metal ion is iron, and both are found in a few annelids. Okay, in most of the annelids you will see hemoglobin. Hemocyanin is blue in color. It contains copper and mainly found in mollusks and arthropods. While in a few mollusks you will see pinaglobin, which is brown in color, and the metal ion present in this pinaglobin is manganese. Okay, so let's talk about white blood cells now. White blood cells, these are also called as leukocytes or white blood capsules. Okay, what we call them? We call them leukocytes or white blood capsules, a cellular component of the blood that lack hemoglobin. They have a nucleus, and these are capable of like they can move. They can move. Okay, they can defend the body against the infection. And okay, I'm sorry if you are having any kind of disturbance right now. Okay, so what I'm telling you, they lack hemoglobin. White blood cells lack hemoglobin. They have a nucleus. Okay, they are capable of motility, and they can defend the body against infection and disease by ingesting foreign material and cellular debris, and by destroying infectious agents and cancer cells, or by producing antibodies. They are far less numerous than red blood cells. Okay, white blood cells are far less numerous than red blood cells. If we see an abnormal increase in white blood cell number, it is known as leukocytosis. Okay, if we see abnormal increase in white cell number, what we call it? We call it leukocytosis. Whereas if there is abnormal decrease in the number of white blood cell, it is called as leukopenia. White cell count may increase in response to intense physical exertion. If you are exerted, if you are suffering from a lot of emotional problems, some kind of pain, pregnancy, labor, and any kind of disease or infection and intoxications, then your white blood cell count will increase. But it can decrease in due to certain types of infections or drugs. Okay, and in certain kind of conditions such as chronic anemia, malnutrition, and anaphylaxis, you will see a decrease in the count of white blood cell, and decrease in the count of white blood cells is known as leukopenia, while the increase is known as leukocytosis. Okay, these are there are two types of white blood cell, granulocyte and agranulocyte. I have already told you about these in my previous lecture. So in granulocyte you will see granules, and as you can see in agranulocyte there are no granules. Neutrophils form the first line of defense. Eosinophils are responsible for the allergic reactions. Basophils releases histamine and heparin, and heparin is an anticoagulant. Monocytes are going to phagocytosize. They will form the macrophages, which are going to perform the phagocytosis. Neutrophils also perform the phagocytosis, but they form the first line of defense. And lymphocytes, which form the B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. B lymphocyte form the antibodies, and T lymphocyte provide the cell-mediated immunity, and also helps the B cells in the formation of antibodies. Okay, so this is all about white blood cells. Let's know about platelets, something about platelets now. Platelets are one of the three type of blood cells. As we read about red blood cells and white blood cells, third type of cells are platelets. These are originated in the bone marrow from the cells called megakaryocytes. Okay, megakaryocyte typically can produce about 1,000 platelets. How many? 1,000 platelets. Megakaryocytes are derived from the same hemopoietic stem cells that give rise to the erythrocytes and leukocytes. Okay, if platelet count is low, you should also know that platelets are also known as thrombocytes, and these are the fragment of cells. These are not the whole cells, but are the fragments of cells. These are also known as thrombocytes. Okay, so blood cells are these are responsible for blood clotting. If the blood vessel is damaged, these platelets, they will rush to the site of the injury and form a plug or clot to stop the bleeding. Okay, if platelet count is low, the condition is called thrombocytopenia, and if the platelet count is low, it means there will be difficulty in blood clotting. Then there will be the risk of uncontrolled or prolonged bleeding diseases. And when there are too many platelets in the blood, then this condition is called thrombocytosis. And this thrombocytosis will lead to the abnormal blood clot formation. Again, this is life-threatening. In blood, 1 microliter of blood, we will see about 1.5 lakh to 4 lakh of platelets, and they have a lifespan of 5 to 9 days. Whenever these platelets bind to a clot, they also release serotonin, and at that time they act as a vasoconstrictor. If you're having any problem in understanding anything, if you're not understanding that how they will act as a vasoconstrictor, do comment in the comment section. I will let you know how they are acting as a vasoconstrictor. Okay, so now let's talk about the mechanism of clotting. See, what is blood clotting? First of all, you should know this word clotting or coagulation is a transformation of blood from a liquid into a solid gel. Okay, normally blood remains in its liquid form as long as it stays within the vessels. If it is drawn from the body, it thickens and forms a gel, and the gel is called a clot. It consists of a network of insoluble protein fibers called fibrin. In blood, you will see a network of insoluble proteins called fibrin, and these fibrin, okay, then combined with other elements of the blood, this fibrin is actually combined with the other elements of the blood and is trapped in those elements and finally form a clot. Fine. During the formation of this gel-like clot, what happens? There are a lot of blood clotting factors. They are going to play their respective roles. If a tissue is injured, there will be a thromboplastin, and blood platelets will also release platelet thromboplastin, which will combine in the presence of calcium ion and will activate the prothrombokinase, and then prothrombokinase will activate the prothrombin and convert this prothrombin into the thrombin. And this thrombin is going to act on the fibrinogen. Fibrinogen is a soluble protein which is then converted into fibrin, which is an insoluble protein, and this fibrin along with other elements of the blood, it is actually trapped in the other elements of blood, will result in the formation of a clot. This thrombokinase is the blood clotting factor, thromboplastin, fibrinogen, all are what? Blood clotting factors. Let's know about it. There are two ways: extrinsic way of blood clotting and intrinsic way of blood clotting. What happens in extrinsic way? Now see, this is the blood clotting factor 7. Blood clotting factor 7 is actually a pro-converting. Okay, during trauma it will be converted into like a blood, it will be activated. And tissue factor, which is a thromboplastin. Tissue factor is found on the outer surface of the cell, which is a thromboplastin, is activated during the trauma, and it can then with the help of this blood clotting factor 7 can activate the clotting factor 10. Clotting factor 10 is thrombokinase. What it is? It is thrombokinase. Clotting factor 10 is thrombokinase. Okay. Extrinsic factor pathway is shorter than the intrinsic one. And this thrombokinase, in the presence of your clotting factor 5, which is proacceleratin, will convert the prothrombin into thrombin, which is the clotting factor 2. Fibrinogen is the clotting factor 1. And then fibrogen will be converted into fibrin. And this clotting factor 13 is what? This is your fibrin stabilizing factor. Will stabilize the fibrin, and there will be cross-linked fibrin clot formation, and hence blood will be clotted. And in intrinsic way, first of all, blood clotting factor 12, okay, H1 factor, also known as H1 factor, it is activated, which then activate clotting factor 12 in its activated state, activate clotting factor 11, which in its activated state activate clotting factor 9, which in its activated state along with activated clotting factor 8 activates the clotting factor 10. Ultimately, by both the pathways, clotting factor 10 will be activated, and this clotting factor 10, with the help of 5, will convert the prothrombin into thrombin, and thrombin will convert the fibrinogen into fibrin, and then fibrin will be acted upon by blood clotting factor 13, which ultimately result in the formation of a clot. You should know the name of all the clotting factors. If you don't, if you want to separate, like if you want me to teach you these factors in the next video, do let me know in the comment section. But if it is enough for you, then that's great. I hope you understand how the blood clotting take place. That's all for today. But if you want to prepare for CSIR NAT JRF 2021, you can take the subscription of Unacademy. Here is a detail of paid classes on your screen, but still you can pay less than that by using the code NEHA, which is the referral code of our dear ma'am Neha Tanisha. It will give you a 10% off. Go on Unacademy and follow the ma'am. She's a great mentor. I tell you in each and every video. More than that, she's a great human being. She's doing a lot for you, so you should do at least a bit for her in return. But along with that, do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Press the bell icon if you want to get the notification, and if you want to follow us on different platforms, then go to the description box. Then there you will get the links to our different platforms. On a single click, you will be there with us. Now, take care, stay safe. In the next lecture, we are going to cover the heart, everything about heart, like heart well, circulation of blood. We'll also be covering the cardiac conduction system, heartbeat, etc. So stay tuned. Thank you. Stay safe.